hearing you guys if you're talking. You want to do me a favor and talk to them?
Yeah, here, I'll test it again because I can hear you all now.
Ethan, can you guys say something?
Hello?
Your tech support, Ethan.
Okay, I'm not hearing you or Elizabeth. I see your guys' thing. Let me stop sharing real quick. Hey, Elizabeth. Give me 2 seconds, see if I can figure it out.
I didn't know whether to join. Am I officially a member again?
Good question, Cindy. I'm not sure if they can hear us in the room there anyway. Did MA
You
did you
guys
get
can hear
approved at
each
a meeting?
other, I'm assuming, so it has to be us.
I don't know.
Okay. We'll see if
I
they'll set up
missed a
a
meeting last month, and then I was at the last meeting. I'll be in another meeting tomorrow.
I think, what do you roll? Okay.
You got me excited. I thought that was the sound.
Yeah, no, that was me. I just have to turn on my stuff down. God, I didn't put it on my own page. What the heck?
Well, I can sit in regardless, right? It's just a matter of whether or not I can vote.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're definitely good to attend still.
Okay.
That was weird.
Okay, cool. We
which
got the
audio
sound
option,
again.
So now we can
Which
hear
option
them.
back is this side? Or the audio output?
The audio outlet looks like it has to be pressed on,
Oh, okay.
which that's what I thought I had it at the beginning. Not sure what's
You
going on.
you can hear us now?
Yeah, we
Yes.
can hear you.
Okay, Cindy, you can ask your question again then, now that Lisette can hear you.
Ask my question again, whether or not I was approved to rejoin.
Did your board approve you?
I missed the meeting before last, so they could have done it there.
Because I haven't talked to Scott. So as of right now, you can sit in, but you cannot vote.
Yep, that's okay.
Okay.
Okay. I believe we can start the meeting. And yeah, welcome everyone to our June meeting. And yeah. So start first, Les, with your updates.
Yeah, I don't have any updates, but Ethan had a couple, so I'm going to toss it over to him, who's virtual today.
Yeah, thank you. Just wanted to let y'all know that Cheney is now up above 97% full.
All right.
And so we are still in stage 2 drought restrictions, and we will be for the next several months still because we go off the 12-month moving average, and that will not shift back up very quickly, but it will start to go back up since the pool is so full. And we'll have to see how evaporation and other factors play in the rest of this summer and the rest of this year to see what we'll be in for 2026, but trending in the right direction for sure.
Okay. So I have a question for you. Like, does it happen we can hit the 100 and have overflow from the reservoir?
Say that again, Ibrahim.
Or does it happen to experience overflow? Like we can hit the 100% fall, and after that is flooding after this, or as I do expect to have more rain coming up. So I'm just curious, you know.
Yeah, there is I know a floodgate and everything they can open up if it is going to overflow there, but obviously we haven't been concerned about doing anything with that for a while, so
which is good, right? To have now.
yeah. And
There
yeah, you
is
mentioned oh, go
Isn't
ahead.
there like a small stream or river that flows into Cheney? Is there anything that comes out of Cheney? Okay, so maybe we don't have to worry about overflow.
I was on the other side, I'm asking
Yeah,
you.
it can go, I think, about 8 feet higher than,
Okay.
so it's also flood control.
Yeah, and you mentioned flooding. That's another thing I wanted to mention is that definitely Brooks landfill, and I believe the county may have opened up a site south in the south part of Sedgwick County for tree debris and other debris from the storms recently. Free drop off for the rest of the week, I believe.
Right,
So if you do
Saturday,
have some
Saturday.
debris you need to get rid of, yeah, do it by the end of the week.
I think
And
it ends
then
Friday, actually.
Oh.
I think
Friday.
Friday's the last day. Yeah, I went from
Long
last Saturday to
weekend?
Friday. I will say my husband went on Saturday and he spent 3 hours in line to
Uh-huh.
dump, so.
That's what-
Just whenever you go, you might be in
That's
line
what
for a
I'm
minute.
hearing, yeah.
That is a good
You
note.
know
It,
that
it
Mike
will.
Hoheisel did? He did this really cool video, and his little boy is there, you can't see him, he's off screen, but he's giving daddy little pieces of sticks, it's really cute. But he's given the whole story on where you can go, what you need to do, and the days that it is and all that. I was really impressed that he did that. That was really wonderful to see a council member do that.
Did you say Hoheisel?
Uh-huh, yeah.
He showed up at our Mayor's Youth Council celebration. He brought his son. It was so sweet. He's so
Yeah.
tiny.
Yeah, I met him,
Yeah.
son last year in December 2024
Mm,
for the District 3 kind of group
Yeah.
event. Yeah.
And final update I wanted to share was about and I think I may have mentioned this at a previous meeting, I'm not sure. I put together a resource on some cooling center locations and some heat resources in general for this summer on our website. So wichita.gov/cooling centers, you can find it there. And it will be mentioned, I think, at the mayor's media briefing on Thursday. So hopefully
That's
lots of
good.
people end up reading about it and they can go there for all their heat forecasts and other information on where to go when it's hot and you need somewhere with air conditioning and other services. This week it's just moderate heat risk. If you'll probably remember the weekend, we got up to major heat risk, which is the third out of 4 levels. So not the worst it could have been, I guess, for us, but pretty bad.
It's like that across the country right now.
Yes, East Coast especially is under a very intense
Yeah.
heat wave.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Ethan. Board updates. Ben, as usual, starting with you.
Oh, so our next transit meeting, we're gonna have on the bus. We're actually gonna get on the queue line and have our transit advisory board meeting while rolling. So this will be a new thing for all of us. So yeah.
And luckily, the queue is electric, so it's not gonna be noisy like a regular bus.
Exactly, and there's Wi-Fi, so I'll be able to be on my laptop. It'll be great.
Isn't the queue line extending?
The
Isn't that
queue
what I
line
heard?
has extended. It's got an additional like leg that goes up to the museums.
Uh-huh.
So it goes all the way from the VA to the museums and back. So, and that's a summer extension. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Russell, putting you on the spot. Do you have anything from Bike Ped this month?
No news.
Okay, thank you. Jessica, looks like you have your hands up.
Hello, I had a question for Ben
Sure.
on the queue line. So I've ridden it probably 6 times in the last 3 months. Maybe one time I didn't have to call the dispatch to make sure that the app was working correctly. Now, I've ridden it many times over the years, just regular, not just the queue line. But I mean, do you get many complaints about it not really updating in real time?
Like the
And
bus GPS location?
the My Stop app, yeah.
Yeah, it is off and on. Yeah,
Because-
it's not a ton of complaints, but I don't get a ton of rider input.
Right. Well, because there's the actual time listed, and then it'll say, it'll be arriving at this time, and then you're great. I'm 5 minutes away from there, and you get there, and then it changes, and then it's 10-minute wait, and then you're like, okay, cool, that's fine, that happens, and then it changes another 6 minutes, and then I'm like, am I at the right? Look, is it running right now? I just never know, and so I always end up calling dispatch, and they're like, yeah, it should be coming around, or they don't know. Yeah. So I didn't know if there was a lot of complaints about the My Stop app when the last time it was like is it updated or is it just like a one and done kind of app or?
I don't know. I don't like it myself. Yeah, I know the times that are listed are supposed to be like, it's not supposed to be the driver like starts and just blasts through at the speed limit. It's supposed to include stop times. But if nobody's there, they will just drive by that stop, making that route that faster. So they will actually over and apparently it's like it's a training problem that they do need to stop. And right now, I believe they only stop at the ends of the routes.
Yeah, that's what I've gathered. Yeah, from seeing as well. Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I was actually standing near a bus stop. I wasn't getting on the bus and the queue line stopped.
Oh.
And I'm like, okay, there's nobody here. I was gonna go, you
Mhm.
know, but they did stop. So somebody's gotten some training.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
Jessica, did you have anything from the die crowd?
Just that we read a draft, a letter that was drafted by Tabitha, the chair, and to present to Brandon Johnson about the board's comment on the proposed ordinance of reparations for Mary Dean. Then we all voted to send that off. Also, we are kind of questioning whether to take a step back or not because we were told that like through the federal government's recent executive orders regarding diversity, inclusion, and equity, legal is having to go through everything in our strategic plan right now, I guess, to make sure that there isn't anything that we will go against if we try to do this plan that was drafted in 2023. So yeah, they're just work. So and then also we someone asked if we even have to meet, I guess, in this time, if it's going to take longer than a month to go over everything. What's so because it is in our bylaws to meet or city ordinance to meet every month. So we're just kind of on a pause, I guess, for now till we get answers back from the city manager's office about meeting and then the city legal's office about the strategic plan.
Okay, thank you for your update. Cindy, I'm not sure, you said you missed the last MAPC meeting, so I'm not sure if you have any updates. Okay, I'm gonna go with no on that one. And, okay, Ibrahim, chair updates.
Yeah, so my key updates is based on the 4 different projects I proposed. And I did share that with you guys, through Liz, about how we can use the $40,000, how we can get out of this money, how we can benefit from this money, and how this will be aligning with our sustainability goals. I did propose 4 projects or 4 pilots, one supporting the idea we proposed together about the gray water, and the other one about a mobile sustainability lab. And the third one is mainly like a micro grant, like split this money into different small grants and get engagement with the community. And the fourth one is floating solar panels to minimize evaporation, generate power. And I believe we will discuss this in more details in item number 4. But this was my key updates. It's been some time for that. And Liz, she did provide like great feedback to me. And yeah, so this was my key updates from last month.
All right.
So, okay. So for regarding the meeting minutes from May, do you have any comments, feedback, questions? Or any adjustment needed?
Thing I remember.
It looked good to me.
Okay.
Move to approve the May meeting minutes.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay, I'll
Anyone?
second.
Okay, thank you.
I think we usually both of us do the minutes.
For the past couple of times. Who writes the minutes, yeah.
I see that too, yeah. Okay, for those in favor of approving the meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone against that? Okay, so I'm going to approve the meeting minutes for May. So as I mentioned, like the next item we have it for the discussion items is the SIP project, and I believe Liz, she did a great job for putting all the projects together. Yeah.
So I'll give you guys a quick overview in case anyone missed kind of last meeting, someone wasn't able to get caught up. So we do have an original SIB budget of $100,000. This was allocated a couple years ago. It's actually become right time, and only Some of the funds of that have been allocated and used. They were previously used for Ethan's position. And now that he has taken a full-time position with the city, there is $40,000 in remaining funds to use. This is a one-time allocation. I don't expect Sid to get any more money. Boards don't usually get money. So this is a really great opportunity for you guys to be able to, maybe do something and really have some goals or to be able to achieve your goals for this year. So as I mentioned, it's about $40,000 in funds. So last month we recommended, Ethan and I had 4 projects that we recommended. So I'm just going to give you a quick summary of those. And then I'll toss it over to Ibrahim to give a summary of his projects that he kind of mentioned earlier. And then from there, we can go into a discussion of if anyone else has any ideas or maybe what you guys are gravitating towards. One of the things I do want to emphasize is that we do want to try and allocate this money before the end of the year. I think there's a better chance that we'll be able to, have it. And if we can take it to council sometime this year, that would be great.
And they won't take it.
Exactly. Can't say that they will or they won't, but I think it's a better chance if you guys are able to allocate it this year. I'm not sure how often it's going to keep rolling over. So would really like to be able to allocate that this year. And if I can help Ethan get some stuff started before I leave on maternity leave, that would also be great. So the first one we talked about was food waste reduction to streamline food recovery efforts from grocery stores, restaurants, and schools to divert food pantries, food banks, and similar facilities. So this is pretty broad. This is just kind of our goal to reduce food waste. We were working with Sunday County to talk about what they had done kind of in this area, and they focused a lot on schools and being able to put kind of fridges in the cafeteria for students if they're kind of unwanted, items that they didn't eat in their lunch, let's say milk and stuff. So kids in after school program could go in there and they would still be fresh, or in the morning, when kids were getting there, so the food could stay fresh longer, and kids could still, put the food that they weren't eating. So this was one of the easier ways that we were looking at. It would be very low administrative burden for us and for the schools as well. So looking at that, especially when we're looking to collaborate with schools, is just trying to make sure it's not too burdenous on them as well. So that's kind of one area we were wanting to focus on. It would be up to you guys to kind of set the scope or how you feel about those ideas. And then we would go in and talk to Sutter County and talk to the schools to target or to actually select the schools after you guys approve the project. So that one's still pretty open-ended for you guys to look at other avenues for that. The second one we want to talk about were seed rebates, a rebate program for certain seeds to incentivize residents, also provide general resources on lawn care maintenance to reduce overwatering and over-fertilizing habits. You guys had previously talked about wanting more education, especially around like lawn, fescue, those kinds of things. And so we would love to partner with Sedgwick County on this to kind of do, workshops on these things and try to incentivize the low intensity or low use water lawns. And right now that we're getting a rainfall might be a good time to be talking about these kinds of things. The next one we want to talk about was air quality sensors. So purchase some air quality sensors to give away along with air quality informational materials. We'd want to target libraries, not neighborhood resource centers and outdoor recreational areas like playgrounds and schools. So this was something in my position as the air quality specialist. I would love to be able to really put these on playgrounds. So hopefully get them to the curriculum in schools so teachers can kind of talk about them. Or if they see, the sensor is red, it's a really bad air quality day, they can have their kids, play inside instead of outside that day. So just a really good awareness and helping those kids, especially since they're part of the vulnerable population. So we thought it would be nice to be able to target a few schools, especially those not closer to air quality monitors around town, and just so they can, make real-time decisions based on the air quality they see on those monitors. And for the last project is kind of a project that we would like to tie into anything that you guys choose. So whether you decide to go a different way, we were hoping to at least allocate around $10,000 to provide materials, resources, and workshops or potential incentives to encourage sustainable practices. So this can mean from just like printing materials and just having them available. We do some like open street stuff, and we are running out of materials and we don't have a whole lot of funds to replace those. And I know you guys talked about us wanting us to create more educational materials, so we'd be open to any ideas you guys have. Recently, Ethan actually ran out of composting wheels that we have. So those are kind of one of the things that we'd like to recreate and be able to produce more of.
Weren't those probably pretty expensive though?
Yes, we wouldn't do it exactly on the way the wheel is. It'd be just the same information in a different way, probably a brochure or something like that. Those were pretty old. So I believe we got them from the old like water center, education center, where they used to do tours there. So they were kind of put away. They were pulled out and Ethan's like, hey, this information's still good. We're going to use it. But unfortunately we did run out, and even Ethan was looking into how much they would cost to be the actual wheel. I think it's like $7 or $8 a piece. So
Yeah.
we'd probably want to stay away from that.
But people love those. Would they, I have two of them from wherever I got them from, I don't know. And I brought them to my neighborhood association meeting and had them out, and people went, oh, and picked it up. I said, well, this is the only ones I have.
Yeah,
but,
it's a very
yeah.
good visual piece.
I like it.
That was cool. I mean,
We
people
would,
did, they were
yeah,
really
we'd
cool.
probably have to transition to something else just because that is so expensive, but, you know, we would love your guys' opinions on what kind of materials you'd like us to create. So that's kind of why this one we wanted to, you know, for you guys to keep it in mind regardless of what project you chose, just because it would be a really good, just in general, if you, Ethan and I do different workshops and different educational, events. So we did air quality, we did one over composting. So we've done a few different ones. So it'd be really nice to be able to print out some more information for people.
And I do believe our website, the sustainability part, we can have a lot of forms and like tracker forms for tracking like waste reduction, tracking like water saving. Like for example, like my family 2 years ago, we did consume around 1,800 plastic bottled water. And I told my wife, you know, it's the time to be sustainable culture in our house. And I brought this carbon filter and all this stuff. And this was a target for us to cut waste reduction. And we have like kind of a tracker, you know, how much water we save today and how this will be turning to be like carbon emissions. So having digital printable forms like this or tracking forms, this might help, yeah.
Yeah, we do have a lot of our kind of like education piece already on the website. We just know people do like, you know, to be able to pick up brochures, especially if they see us out and about. And it's really nice for us to be able to take to different events that we go to. So that's just one that we highly recommend no matter what you guys choose. If you could allocate funds for that, we'd really appreciate it. Before I move on to Ibrahim's portion, any questions on the staff recommended projects summary?
Could you remind me like the estimated?
Yeah, of
budgets
course.
for
Yes,
these?
I didn't add those in there because in case you guys, I know last meeting there was talk about wanting to kind of like mix and match so different ones. So it honestly depends on how many people and how many schools you want to target or things like that. So for the food waste reduction, let me pull up the estimation. It also depends on the scope. I know I put estimates last time, but that was dependent on what you guys chose. I think I did the scope based for the first one on just like thinking about mini fridges and then doing just like an estimate for educational materials and then how many schools we wanted to target.
I believe you had that in your previous slide.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I'm trying to open the slide. Okay, for the food waste reduction, I think we only estimated about 5 to 10,000, depending on how many schools we wanted to target and what the actual scope of it was. We were estimating this would be with the, you know, just targeting kind of those elementary, middle schools, and then doing Wichita schools. So it depends. That can go up or down depending on how many schools you want to target, or if you want to go a different way with food waste reduction, because we also talked about helping set up like community gardens in schools or targeting those with community gardens, maybe giving them, you know, the rain barrel. So that could kind of vary on costs. For seed rebates, I estimated about $150 per household. We would require a receipt to prove purchase, and we estimated maybe like putting $10,000 towards the rebates, which would help about 60 to 100 people. This would allow for it to be a 2-year project if you would like it to be. So that's the other thing about this is if you would like to, you know, have it for a multi-year and, you know, when we get it approved by council to make it so that we're doing 10,000 this year and 10,000 next year. But just still allocating the funds. So that would be about 60 to 100 people. And then we estimate about maybe 2,500 for educational programming and workshops. And then for the.
And you have certain seeds in mind?
We were gonna work with the Sedgwick County Extension Office to talk about which seeds we were gonna approve of when it comes to purchasing.
And which seeds are available here?
And then for air quality sensors, I think we did a $25,000 estimation, which would be 80 to 125 sensors. So this is about $300 per sensor. And then I believe it needs like the battery pack that comes with it, or that is sold separately. And then we estimate about $5,000 for educational materials, especially when we're targeting, teachers to be able to add it to their curriculum. But again, if you would like to do less air quality sensors, that could also change. And then for the educational.
How many air
materials,
quality sensors did you say we were talking about?
80 to 125.
So in between that, okay.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that there's gonna be that many schools that we could, target, because originally we were looking at giving them out to individual people. We like the idea better of having it in kind of public spaces, and targeting kind of the libraries and parks and things like that. And you guys did bring up a good point last time about, making sure there's Wi-Fi and somewhere to plug it in, so also making sure those requirements are met. So there might not be that many to give away, but that was the estimation. Any other questions?
I like the neighborhood community centers mostly because there are at least 2 in lower income areas. 3 that could be placed. And because a lot of times air quality is worse.
Yep.
I'm thinking particularly about maybe the Atwater Center because it's not that far from the highway. And the highway does indeed have worse air.
Yeah.
People who live under there.
Yeah.
Might be someone who would want one that's in their
Yeah,
backyard.
that was kind of part of our reasoning behind this, is to kind of try and close some of those gaps about to where our like city air quality sensors are and where some of this, other data that we could be receiving about, these low income neighborhoods or just other neighborhoods that are closer to industrial zones. So I was thinking specifically about like the 21st and Broadway area. So being able to target certain zip codes, if you guys like, is also an option.
Yeah, we can map them.
I like the air quality sensors because it's visible. Because it's, something that, you can put out there and people can ask questions about it and, we could, put some sort of identification on them so that, people recognize, oh, this is an effort that's being taken on behalf of, trying to improve air quality, and it's part of a larger sustainability integration project. I just think that, the more stuff that you can do that isn't just a pointless giveaway, but is nonetheless something new that people can see that doesn't necessarily cost them anything, that's the sort of thing that's least likely to create blowback and most likely to maybe get some actual productive engagement. It's like, oh, they're concerned about air quality. Well,
Yeah.
I'm concerned about air quality too. I'm glad they're doing that.
I will say, when talking to KDHE about this project, they really liked it. They're the ones who help administer they're the ones who give me the grant that funds my position, which does monitor air quality. So they really like this project. Additionally, the monitors we were looking at were the purple air monitors. So we have a couple of those actually in the city owned by just private citizens. So you can actually go on their website and it will show you what those monitors are picking up. So even if you're not in that area, or if you don't have direct access to look at that monitor, it'll still show up online if you'd like to see. So that's one of the things that we really liked. It's adding to the publicly available data.
So I need like some details about that. So what is the type of information you can get from the sensors?
So these sensors are going to be PM 2.5. We do have to look at other vendors though, as part of like city policy. And so other ones that we're looking would be more expensive, but they would also track ozone. PM 2.5 has been the one that's been giving me more issues when it comes to air quality. And it's that particulate matter that includes like smoke and stuff like that. So that's what these sensors specifically do. But there are others that I'm looking into that have ozone.
Like for my phone, for example, I get a lot of information about the air quality, like the UV, all this stuff, so is this the same? So for example, like as a resident will get the sensor. So for him, how, like he doesn't understand what is the UV, for example, So how this will be translated, like meaning for him, like for CO2 level, he might know high or low, the wind, high or low, temperature, relative humidity. So I need to know what he will read, like it is like a digital will give number.
So actually, yes.
Okay.
So that's what it looks like. It'll give you a number and a
Okay.
color. So the color goes to the air quality scale that is available on airnow.gov. It's the colors that I use currently to also, yeah, so basically orange and above is what we don't want. That's on sensitive groups. Yellow and green are like.
Is this how we
okay.
get these signal, right? Okay.
Yeah,
this is-
exactly.
Okay. I need to make sure something simple, not
It
like
is.
number and units
Oh,
and stuff
yeah,
to
no,
work with this
it's- yeah.
stuff.
Yes, the number system, yeah, it's really easy and it coincides with what we do now.
This is just like, thank you.
But what you do now is particulate.
I do ozone right now, but I
Ozone,
do,
okay.
so I do monitor the particulate matter 2.5 and 10, just to alert people in general, but it's not part of our federal standards right now. So we don't have a standard for it. So there's no out of compliance for PM 2.5.
So we're worried mostly about what they're gonna ding us on.
For-
And is that even still in existence?
So I know they are looking at the federal air quality standards. I know previously they were going to set a standard for particulate matter. So this was coming in the previous administration. We were aware of it. And I do believe for what they had selected for Kansas, we were going to be out of compliance. Us in Kansas City, we're going to be out of compliance. I don't know where that stands currently. But that's also a reason why we wanted to bring more attention to PM 2.5 if we do get those standards. Just be able to see kind of where we're at and maybe where the worst offending areas are and what we can do to tackle those areas specifically.
The last point I raised last time is, does the sensor requires calibration? Like if you give this to the resident, for example, after 1 year, is,
No,
I'm asking
they-
about the calibration, you know.
They should just be able to plug in, connect to Wi-Fi and be good to go.
So no need for calibration, right?
I think in general, I agree with what Russell mentioned around like the air quality sensors, and I kind of like the food waste reduction idea for the same reason. I think that idea that there's immediate benefit to the health and well-being of our community, because I think sometimes we can get more questions or pushback if it's something that's like we're trying to prevent or make a long-term bet on some sort of initiative, whereas these two, like I don't know how they could be controversial. Like this is like affecting like people's health today and being able to better people's quality of life today. So I think for those reasons, it would probably be a pretty straightforward thing to consider.
But what would actually be the physical, visible elements of the food waste reduction? Food waste reduction efforts? Are we talking about like more receptacles labeled for food waste? I mean, what is the air quality sensors? That's a thing that you can plug in and you can see it operating. Food waste reduction is a practice. And of course, we need to encourage the development of better practices, but I mean, unless there's something obvious I'm not thinking of, and I mean, I do a lot with ICT Food Rescue. I have Stephanie come and talk to my classes, but I'm trying to think, what is the tangible thing that would be purchased or that would be paid for, that would be visible in connection with food waste reduction?
So that's definitely up to you guys to set the scope if you decide to go with this project. What we were specifically thinking was, like I said, clear glass fridges for schools, and then inventory of schools with community gardens. So looking at those who have community gardens and whether it be maybe getting them like a composting area or helping them integrate composting into their curriculum as well, or giving them rain barrels as well. So these are all kind of different options that we were thinking about. If you guys have a different goal that we'd like to achieve and maybe not target schools that much, maybe go a different area, definitely up to you guys. We left that one kind of broad, but that's what we were looking at because that's what Sedgwick County had already started doing.
I just wonder about the rain barrel idea, although that sounds good. Because there is a rain barrel at College Hill Elementary and it's not attached to anything.
And why is that, Lori? Typically in schools, it's because a teacher or a parent has a great idea, they do it, and then they're gone. And then so I think if we're going to be in the schools, we need to be looking at, partnering up with people that have the time and are willing to come and oversee, because I know the teachers say they do, and they do for a year or two, and then they don't.
Okay, James, I'm gonna let you go, and then after that, I do wanna get into what Ibrahim's projects were, so we have time to talk about those, and then we can just have the general discussion. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, thank you, Lizeth. I think these are all very fair points made already. And, I think as I said last time, a couple great points were made. What were the priorities that we made as an organization for the next year? On this list right now, I think the seed rebate answers that question. And to Russell's point about visibility, I think just one idea I had randomly, could we ask those seed rebate people to maybe put a yard sign in their yard to say this was a low water use rebate yard, if it were, and then I like it because it improves curb appeal, that it improves in essence wealth for people who maybe couldn't afford to do that. So that's the first thing. And then just the idea of diversifying funds. I think it's a valid point. We have a history of diversifying our budget in the past, so I think it's a valid point. I think as I kind of wind down my comments, I struggled. I went back to try and find. I couldn't find what our priorities were. I'll admit. I know that water, conservation was one of them, but if Ethan or Lizeth, if you have the other priorities, I'd love to hear them because I couldn't find those on the website, for example. But I would just ask that if we do diversify, put a larger proportion of our funds into the priorities that we set as a group, and then to distribute the funds elsewhere accordingly. So my initial thoughts on all this.
Yeah, James, just to answer your question, the goals, or I guess, I forget what exactly, the focus areas that you guys chose for this year
Yeah.
were drought and water reduction and waste reduction. Those were
Okay.
the two. I don't think you guys set like specific goals with those. Those are just kind of the areas you wanted to focus on. If that's what you meant, I also have like the SIB purpose and duties from ordinance, which are, just relating to climate resiliency, community outreach, waste management, energy use, affordability, and access to services in general.
You saying waste and water answered my question, so I appreciate that.
Okay, yeah, of course. Okay, Ibrahim, I want to give you time to talk about your project, and then we can move on to kind of general discussion.
Should I sign in or you?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so as just mentioned, like thanks and Ethan for providing us with these 4 projects, all of them within the umbrella of the sustainability of the city, with the objective to have, we need to have a good city in terms of minimizing the waste, conserve the water, and we cannot do that without outreach and education. So I tried to have 4 more projects. So aligning with what we agreed in this board to have fighting the drought and having water conservation and also minimizing the waste. So the first project is called Pilot 1, is mainly like decentralized grey water treatment, a small pilot plant for demonstration. And this one should be demonstrated in a public building within the city, in a library or park or restroom or something in a community center to treat and reuse the grey water for irrigation or toilet flushing. So last month, I asked Liz to share the proposal we agreed on to the city, and she has some feedback. We'll share that after this project. And the main impact behind this project to demonstrate innovative water reuse, and also it is a good educational opportunity. Like, let's imagine everyone, how many visitors visiting this building, for example, like many and many. If everyone coming in to go to the restroom or go to the water fountain sees this kind of small pilot system for treating of the sink water or whatever is coming out. So this might be a good opportunity for learning and also for outreach and community engagement. And also this will reduce the potable water demand. And my estimation for this one, for a small system taking care of sink water somewhere between $20 to $25 or $60,000, including like a system and a sign and system setup, as you can see on this right side image. So this is how it should be, looks like inside the library or community center. So I will move forward, and after that, you can give your feedback later. The second idea came to my mind, like years ago, I had a project to have a mobile unit or a mobile water treatment unit. So I said this might be a good idea to have the same for sustainability, to have a mobile trailer, and this trailer has some hands on the sustainability activities, like a water filter, like a solar panel, like a project with few posters inside the trailer. And this can be moving from school to school, can moving from event to other event. And this should be like a movable educational opportunity for the community. So we can get engaged with them, and also we can elevate the awareness about how we can protect our city. So this is like a highly visible mobile unit, good for education and outreach. My numbers for the cost is around $60,000. This is like would be like insulated trailer with the AC. It can run like during the daytime, no need for lighting. But if you have something running in, you can have like a battery and solar panel. During the night time, you can plug it to any hosting site grid, electrical grid. We can get electricity from them. So this one will be like 40,000 should be enough to do that. So the other project, which I like it the most, to have like something called like a micro grants. So in this one, we can split the $40,000 into a number of grants, and we can say like we need like a request for proposal. We can reach to schools, reach to the teachers, reach to the neighborhood associations, and ask for ideas how we can be sustainable, how we can achieve sustainability. And I do expect we can get different proposals about waste reduction, water conservation, about education. Someone need to host an event in his classroom or his school, something like that. So we can split this into a number of projects, and we can cover all the ideas of the sustainability goals about the water, waste reduction, or the food, or the air sensor. Some people say, oh, I need like get few air sensors. Some people say, oh, I need to make a program for waste reduction, or I need to get something about, I need to organize event for outreach or sustainability. So this will have like a different angles, and this requires like efforts for us to reach out. We'll get proposals. We cannot give money to someone he didn't spend effort to realize. So take money and get sensors. No, write proposal, 1 page, share it with us, show your interest about the idea. We appreciate your outreach to us. We'll reply to you, give you the money. And we have maybe like 1 or 2 meetings, work together, and they can know now we have sustainability board. We have all these activities. So it's good for us to make marketing behind this one. Moving forward. So this is another idea about the water. I do believe water evaporation is one of the hidden killer for water losses in our big reservoirs like Shenny or the rivers. And like a few months ago, I did propose with you the idea to have a floating solar panels. So the idea to make conserving the water by minimizing the water evaporation, and in the meantime, could produce electricity so we can use it. I did propose a Shenny reservoir, but we might do that on a small water surface, a pilot plant, just for demonstration. And this will be around also $40,000. So given that, we have now a total of 8 projects. 4 came from Les and Asim, and I did propose 4. So I do believe we have like good options to make discussion on that and move forward and keep the momentum up for these activities. And as Les mentioned right now, this is the only opportunity we have to get money, right? So I do believe, maybe I'm wrong, but I do believe outreach and education is so critical. So this is my takeaway from this slide. So yeah, we are open to the discussion now, and hopefully we can have a decision, as Liz mentioned. We have to make that before end of the year. So yeah, any questions or something?
If one of our goals is to, nudge the climate around the city council when it comes to support for sustainability projects, I mean, I think the micro grants probably have a greater likelihood of doing that.
I agree.
Because you could get neighborhood associations, you could get churches, you could get
Bigger exposure,
elementary
yes.
schools in various districts all across the city who do something. And those people would talk. And I mean, if, obviously most, advisory boards don't have a budget. But then again, most advisory boards haven't been tasked with the sort of things that we're tasked with. Most advisory boards are dealing with things that already have lines within the city budget. I mean, there's all sorts of ways in which, the city fails in its ability to really sustain public transit and to sustain, alternative transportation with bicycle pedestrian board. But that stuff is already there. The sustainability stuff isn't really there. So we have to create it. And if that is a major goal of ours, and it doesn't have to be, but if it is a major goal, then thinking about which of these can best be, seen as having a multiplier effect. I think is important. And I love the gray water. I've always liked you talking about that. And I've thought, what if we did something like this down at the water center? Or, what if we, had it at, a part of the new water treatment plant, or as a demonstration thing. I mean, there are fun ideas. Same thing with the floating solar panels. I mean, it's a fun idea that if you could get people out there to see it, that's something. But how do you get the people out there to go see it? The micro grants maybe is the best.
I agree with them. Especially as I mentioned, like we have to make request of proposal, like half page, 1 page from every group, right? And after that, review them and give them money and make a kind of a review process and track progress.
I guess that's my main concern with the micro grants, is that like the city has an official RFI, RFP process that is very arduous, because I've been through it before. And it's like, if we subject Cub Scout Troop X to the RFI, RFP process, they're gonna be like, nope.
No, I'm not.
Except this is our money.
It's our money, yes.
But see, do we
It's
still
city-
have?
The city would have to allocate it, so it would have to go through city, it would have to adhere to city policy.
Right.
So they would have to go through the city's
And
that's a very strong.
that is one
obstacle
thing
to
that
that.
I did kind of mention to Ibrahim. I gave some feedback on some of these,
Yeah,
so
you
as you
said
guys
so.
go through these,
Okay.
I'll kind of let you know. I will say with this one, we'll have to reach out to finance to see how that would work. And then it would probably have to be a reimbursement type grant, which would hinder a lot of groups of not receiving the money up front. And then we're talking about verifying receipts as well. So this does put a heavy administrative burden on.
So technical budget question. And this goes for like the seed rebate program as well. Why does it have to be a rebate?
Because
I mean, are there rules that make that necessary? And if there are, how is it that we could buy air quality units and just put those up on our own? Because apparently sometimes we can spend money and do stuff, but other times it has to be something that we reimburse people for.
yeah, so it depends on what you're doing. So since most, like when I do the lawn care rebate, it's a reimbursement because I'm giving people money. I'm literally handing them, well, not me handing them a check, but finance hands them a check.
But if they hand them a check after they show them a receipt.
Yes, that can be done. So that's kind of what I'm saying is what would have to happen in this case is my assumption with how we've been working with things. With the air quality sensors, since we're gonna purchase them, we're gonna go through the procurement process, we're probably gonna have to have like an RFI or an RFP to find a vendor for it and then purchase them. And we have to have, I think we have to have at least like 3 quotes depending on how much money we're going to spend. And then we are able to purchase them and then we can give them away. In the same way, when we create educational materials from print shop, we can purchase them and then give them away. But if it's actual physical money that we're handing out, the only way I've dealt with it currently is to do a reimbursement type. And so that's my concern with this. If we're talking about smaller
Yeah.
groups, teachers, they don't have the money to start these projects on their own and then get reimbursed.
I mean, the Cub Scout troop wouldn't have, most Cub Scout troops won't have $800, $1,000.
Yeah.
To spend, even if they know they're gonna get it back. They like don't actually have that in the bank, so some parent would have to put it on their credit card.
Right, and then it's just the people who got the dough that can do the spin, yeah. Just what we're trying to avoid.
I'm afraid to give the money, you know, like for someone and just once and gone, you know. I would like to keep engagement and keep education.
No, I like that idea. because
This is my point, you know.
I think it's, I think it's, you know, I think it's politically wise, but if it's also, you know, from an accounting perspective, you know, just a huge ask, then I don't know. Is there some provision within the city code that would allow for, you know, kind of a simpler, you know, RFP process, you know, like something in the city code that says, oh, but if it's a group that has a budget of less than this, or it has a size less than this, then they just have to write in a letter, or I don't know.
Right.
I would have to ask finance. This is definitely something that I haven't dealt with, to do something like give out grants to other people. Usually we're the one receiving the grants, so I've dealt with that part of the process. But if this is something you guys want to move forward with, I can definitely reach out to finance and see
Well,
kind of maybe how this
I
would
would
work.
wanna know if there is such a path forward, because if there is, I really think we should explore it. If there is not, I'm gonna have to agree and say, I'm not gonna encourage us to spend $40,000 on a plan where, you know, most people are gonna look at the website and say, I gotta fill out this.
Yeah, the only analog I can think that's currently in the city is like Arts Council's allocation of arts funding. And it's an application process for that dollar value to get allocated to that particular artist or that particular, you know, entity. And it's a task, and they have to adjudicate it and everything. So
Project.
they do it,
But,
and it's small, it's fairly small amounts from my understanding. But it requires an application process and everything like that.
And from the RFPs that I've been a part of, we do have a committee and they do come and interview and present and stuff. So that also requires other city staff to be involved.
So for all of the ideas, I'm just kind of curious, I'm gonna throw out a kind of a different question. So, like Liz, you mentioned maybe, and I think we've all said, one of the main objectives we have here is the getting awareness out. And so I think that idea that you had said, no matter what we do, we should spend some money probably on educational materials and things. And so just as a way of thinking through all the ideas that are on the table, I mean, would we want to have like $10,000 set aside for educational materials, which would mean we really have 30,000 left for whatever project?
Yeah,
I think that's reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
we have to diversify this money and not in one basket. I agree.
Anybody dissent on that
So,
online? I
Does,
see in.
so how about this? How we can scale out not good projects, you know?
Oh, get out the not good ones?
Process elimination.
So we have right now 8 projects on the table. So which one we should take it out until we have?
Ibrahim, I'm sorry, I love you, buddy, but I'm gonna toss out the gray water and the solar panels.
Okay.
I mean, I agree. I love them, but I mean, they're just like, they're big demonstration projects, and that requires a big investment, and then it presumes that we can somehow get people to go and learn from those
Right,
projects.
and then they be followed up with larger.
Yeah.
Industrial size one.
So we have 6 left.
Okay.
We have food waste reduction, seed rebates, air quality, educational material, mobile sustainability trailer, micro grants.
I didn't like the seed rebate last time, and so I'm gonna stay. Somebody else cut something. I don't wanna be the one, that's the only one that cuts
No,
something.
I agree on the seed rebate. I'm still on the idea that I think a lot of the folks that would be looking for that and apply for that would already be interested in making the switch to more water conserving plants and.
This is a good point that Ethan made. I was gonna let you guys know, the seed rebates may be included in the water conservation rebate program next year, as, Councilmember Johnson asked about it at the council workshop for the 2025 program. As of June 3rd, there's still 53,000 remaining in the rebate program. So the city has approved rebates for more than 618 devices.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Johnson himself has asked about, seed rebates being included in the rebate process.
So we might not have to worry about that
Yes,
fund,
yes.
those funds then, okay.
So we have 5 left. We have now food waste reduction, air quality sensors, educational material, mobile trailer, micro grants.
I think the whole question about the micro grants, again, it just comes down to, is there a way in which individuals and small groups,
Sure.
small institutions can apply where it's not onerous? Your point about the Arts Council is a good one, but I mean, like for instance, my daughter, who is, you know, she's an actress, you know, she performs around Wichita. Right now, she's in Santa Fe. She's gotten a couple of grants through them. She knows a lot of people who've gotten grants. But there are multiple grant giving entities, some of which are connected to the city, some which are not. I don't know specifically which ones she has received from. The ones that she has received from required her to fill out a form and write a explanation of what she's gonna do with the money and why that benefits
Okay.
arts in general.
Yeah.
I mean, it required her to do some work, but the work it required her to do was about 45 minutes of work. You know, if that is the sort of thing that we could do with the micro grants,
Yeah.
then I think that that's absolutely doable.
Yeah.
If the sort of thing that we do with the micro grants is really the full-on request for proposals reviewed by the city council, I mean, come on.
Maybe a big headache, yeah.
Yeah, so let's find out what the path is.
How about
For the
this?
micro
Can you take lead on that so we can have this project?
Yeah, I can
On
send you an
bending?
email out tomorrow to purchase
Maybe
them.
next meeting have like maybe 2 projects or 3. Sounds good.
Well, I think that one of the projects needs to be at least the 10,000 for educational materials.
Yep.
And that would also include, I
like that.
guess,
I like that.
going out and talking about the seeds, going out and talking
I
about the
like
different
that.
things that we're trying to do anyway.
I will say, that would reduce the cost of some of the other projects that I mentioned, just because education material cost was included in those costs. So if you guys wanted to do a couple of those, that would be a possibility.
So can we have like 10K for educational material and outreach?
Yep.
And 30K, for example, for micro grants or different projects like AirSense or whatever.
I think that's appropriate,
Yeah.
yeah.
Air sensor's the one I like
I
best.
like
Yeah,
it
I
too,
like
yeah,
the
I
air
like it
sensors
too.
too.
But I'm trying to have like diversification for our monies. This is
Right, yeah,
my point.
yeah.
And there could be like an option with the air sensors. I mean, that's for 80 to 120. If we wanted to do maybe 50 to start
Exactly.
And
You
some
can lower
micro
that
grants or
amount.
something like that.
and spread out the money amongst.
Well,
I'd be very surprised if we could do 80.
Cause kind of thinking like, you know, Ethan's comment, he didn't intend for me to glean this out of it, but like 650 odd people have applied for the water rebates in a city of 400,000. And so like even finding 80 willing and able and capable
I know what you mean,
organizations
yeah.
to,
Yeah.
it may be a heavy lift.
I don't know how big of a lift it would be because a lot of the places, as you pointed out, for the air quality devices would be public.
True.
And so that's just a matter of convincing some people on, you know, in Parks and Rec.
Right.
And then all of a sudden we get approval to put 40 or 50 of them in with just one decision. And that would not be a bad thing because again, you know, these are public spaces that a lot of people go to. I'm not saying that we, you know, have to go all in on those, but I don't think it'll be quite the same lift as it is with, you know, the city offering rebates to people who want to buy, you know, better washing machines or something like that.
Well, and the cost of the air quality monitors is not only the cost of the monitors, because there would also be signage
Right.
that
Which
we
is
would
part of
have
the
to purchase
educational
and put
cost,
in.
right? Signage and all the stuff, cost of the educational and outreach.
How much how
On the
much would
flyer.
signs
What
cost?
kind of signage are you thinking of?
Well, it would need to be something that would give people enough information that they could read what this thing is when they see it. It would also have to be not removable, so it would have to be attached in some way. Either to the sensor, which I don't think is gonna be, I
Like a
don't know
waterproof
exactly what it
sign.
looks like, but something they can't walk away with. Something that's gonna be durable because of this weather, something that's not gonna fly when we get the
Street
kind of
sign.
wind we get. So it would have to be something sturdy, heavier than just like a paper sign.
Mhm.
So I don't know.
Like a premium material, so we can handle all the weather conditions and stuff.
Or
that.
like the little signs that you put around a tree that talks about what it is, who planted it, something like that. That would be close to the ground so people could see it, but probably not fly away in the wind. That's what I'm thinking, just so people can identify what they're looking
I
at.
will say we did want to target areas that would have like if we target a library, like they would have the air quality information inside as well. So if people wanted to ask questions, they'd have information to give out about that. So it wouldn't, I mean, you could put a sign up just saying what it is, like, oh, this is an air quality center, ask us about it.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of like a park.
Mm-hmm.
There's not anybody there.
Mm-hmm.
Neighborhood Resource Center, they are packed full of people already.
Mm-hmm.
So they would appreciate some explanation outside where they didn't have to talk to people about it. They could still answer questions if they knew what the answers were. But I mean, some of these neighborhood centers are packed full of people all the time, getting other resources. So that's why I would just like, I mean, some of them, yeah, we can do that. Like at the library, there's gonna be people who are a little more leisurely.
Mhm.
But at some of the places where there may not be any monitoring, we'd need to have some sort of a sign that could stay with it, that we didn't have to worry about
So signage and
disappearing.
also having kind of a QR code on that, so you can get access to more
Maybe,
information.
not everybody can do that, but
Has
All-
his hand up.
Go ahead, James.
Yeah, I had two questions on the air quality sensors. What do they look like? We talk about how they would be visible, and a quick Google of air quality sensor image search generates a whole different variety of.
Yeah, we're specifically looking at the purple air sensors. So they're like a small disc, they almost look like a fire
can you look
detector.
it up and put the picture up?
Yeah.
And then while Elizabeth does that, I wonder, I think it was maybe a point that Jessica made. Who's going to manage this process? And that's kind of the unknown on this one. For me, admittedly, that we take a leap of faith a little bit that we will entrust people to maintain these. And I haven't quite know if I've heard an answer on that one yet.
Yeah, so for maintenance, as far as like keeping track of where they're at, that would be me. And for the ones that are like on city property, so those would be all the ones in the neighborhood resources, libraries, and parks. We wanted to kind of focus on those areas because I would be in charge of those basically, so I can keep tabs on them, or I would have someone to contact in those locations. And the other one for the schools, if we did hand them over to the schools, I would want to just give them over to them, keep track that they're there, and maybe reach out to them every so often, have a contact at the schools. But the teacher or whoever chooses to take it in would be the one who would be kind of in charge of it. There's not a lot of maintenance when it comes to these, just making sure they're plugged in and connected to Wi-Fi, so it shouldn't be a big administrative burden on anyone.
Okay, so this, you just stick into the ground, is that it?
You plug it in, usually put it up a little bit higher so it can get some of the air quality.
Okay. And you plug it in,
Is it like a screen or something?
It's hardware.
It
Yeah,
changes
see,
color.
these are gonna go on street lamps, they're gonna go on, telephone poles.
Up high.
Not, they don't necessarily have to be up high. I like the idea of them being, eye level so that you can like have some.
so somebody can take
Some
it
little,
home
some
real
little
quick.
sign that you can just like, hammer in there or something like that. But, I mean, it's not like we're gonna create some kind of, separate pillar for them out in the middle of the field that where it's just sitting on top of. It's
Yeah.
always gonna have to be connected to something. It's gonna be on the side of a building or, something along those lines.
So were you looking at the ones with the color?
Those are indoor. So
Oh.
these are indoor air quality ones.
Oh,
Okay, so they
These
would
will
not,
also have the color though. for
are they the
my
same
area.
price?
The indoor ones are cheaper by a little bit.
Well, then maybe we should focus on the indoor ones and, focus on doing stuff with schools and focus on doing stuff with, community centers and that sort of thing. We could maybe we could take them further.
So the reason we were looking at the outdoor ones, because they specifically pick up the outdoor air quality, which is what we have
Oh, so
standards for.
this is for the data reason.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So this would pick up what the air quality is indoor. Yes, public comment.
But that could be a grant.
The Zen one with the color, it says indoor or outdoor. The
green one there?
yeah, it says purple air Zen. That says
That one.
indoor or outdoor.
Yeah, I think that's one of the ones I was also looking at, because it changes the color, and then we would have to get the outdoor power supply, which is why, the estimations were a
Oh,
little
wait.
different.
Do these have,
Be
do
plugged
these
in.
have something visible so that people can look at it, see a color?
See,
This
that's what I was
specifically
wondering.
does, which goes with what our current air quality scale is,
Oh,
yeah.
people would like that.
Oh, that would be
Yeah.
good.
They'd like
Yeah, I think that
to
would
be able to have something to look at it and say, see, their quality's bad.
But it needs power.
We need to print on
Yes,
something
all
like
of them
this.
need power.
Oh, they don't have to be plugged in somewhere then,
No, it
No.
cannot
or
be.
wire somehow.
Yes,
have
yes, they do,
power.
yes, which is why we were going to look specifically at schools, neighborhood resources, libraries, and potentially parks.
And as she mentioned, like we need like kind of printing something like this, the color identification,
Yeah.
so anyone can see what does it mean, this color.
That'd be good. Kids
Sign.
could run outside.
Things
and
like
walk
that.
around.
What is this, radiation or what,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to tell people like, okay, this color means
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
unhealthy.
Yeah, so
and-
this does go by the air quality scales that we use now, so it's the same ones that are available on airnow.gov. It's the same kind of information that the city puts out right now, so it coincides, so it will be cohesive with what we're currently putting out.
and how easy would it be for someone to walk by and see it and take it?
I don't think it would be the easiest thing. They're supposed to be up kind of high unless they're getting a ladder and trying to do it,
Like
Yeah.
which
8
is
feet
why
high or
also we
something.
want it in places where there are people who are like kind of there all the time and stuff. So like
Yeah.
I said, neighborhood resource centers, libraries, and schools.
Yeah, it looks like that third picture over, like it's like mounted to a pole or
Mhm.
something right there, right? Of course, that's just using zip ties, but we could probably
Yeah,
do
very
something more
simple.
permanent.
Russell, I'll just ask these are about the size of a fist. They're gonna be up 8 feet in the air. Is this the visibility that you had in mind? Is this
Yeah,
the?
I mean, I don't know. I think visibility is important. I think there are ways in which this could be done so that it becomes a nice visible sign of something the city is doing. But I recognize that it's not a guarantee that it would. I mean, if the most effective use of these is to put them 8 foot up or higher on, on lamp posts and telephone poles, then yeah, maybe that's not actually that visible.
Attention is very low, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point. Maybe on, like the entrance and exits of public buildings, put them on the outside wall of libraries, put them on the outside walls of schools.
By the front door.
By the front door, I mean, much less light. Yeah, I mean, easier to put a sign there, much more likely to be seen, much less likely to be stolen. But maybe that limits the number of places we could put them in, because then we're working with school districts as opposed to going to Parks and Rec and just getting, mass approval for these. So, yeah, that's a valid concern. If we want to balance this with, putting them in places where they will be seen and not just collecting data, but also informing people by their operation, then yeah, maybe we really can't, say, oh yeah, we'll put one in every park, because not a lot of people will see them in parks. Parks will be a lot more likely for somebody to come along and knock them down with a
Not every
baseball
park has
bat.
Wi-Fi.
Not every park has
Yeah.
Wi-Fi. Yeah,
Yeah.
those are all
Also,
good
we
points.
did want to focus on neighborhood resource centers, libraries, and playgrounds of schools.
Playgrounds of schools.
Mhm. one of the comments that I get often when we have bad air quality is like, oh, did someone inform the schools? Did someone tell them like, don't let the kids outside today? Or like, oh, my kid has asthma, maybe I'll tell his teacher not to let him outside today, kind of thing. So we thought this would be a really great educational tool and also like a health tool for teachers to be able to use.
So if we get like this one, like our $300 per sensor, right?
Plus the like power outlet thingy.
Like
That's to be plugged in.
350, like at 50.
I forget how much it was, but yeah.
So what I have in my mind, like maybe I'm wrong, but I will share what I have in my mind. So if we have like for reduction material is 10K, and they're having for the air sensors, I would say 15K, and another.
Yeah, we could get like 40, we could get like 40 of them.
This like should be
for,
enough, yeah.
15,000.
And we have like a good process for the micro grants, another 15K. So in this case, we have like 3 key activities, engagement, and I believe all of them, they have under the same umbrella of education and outreach. Like if we go to the schools or the centers, we still communicate with the students or with the visitors. Same for the micro grants, we'll start to work with the non-profit entities. And I didn't highlight the mobile trailer as right now, if we take 10K, this one is 40K. So this is not on the table unless you see a point to take the 10K out and put in the mobile trailer, but I didn't have that. So it looks like air quality sensors, educational material, and the micro grants on the table right now. Micro grants is still pending based on the feedback from you, Les, but this is my perspective, but open for the discussion now.
I think I like it. I think we should come up with a backup plan in case the micro grants are going to be arduous. Like we come up with just a simple, like, we're not doing this, we're doing this instead with this allocation of funding.
Okay.
That way we can approve a plan and staff can go forward either the path, the preferred path or the alternative path.
I think that's a good idea, but just kind of with what Ibrahim just said, does everyone kind of align with that approach of doing all 3?
Like 10, 15, 15, yeah.
Yeah, 10, 15, 15.
Assuming, depending
Yeah,
on
depending.
what we find out about
Yes.
the process.
So,
for
yes.
asking grants.
And if it doesn't work, should we go back to 15, like 2020 sensors and the 20 education material? Or is
So-
too much of education? I'm not sure, but I'm trying to see what's the plan B.
A quick reaction to a question I just heard. Based on what Ibrahim requested there, I would probably vote no on that. Because none of them align into the goals or the priorities that we outlined. And my ask would continue to be, could we find a way to spend some of this money on the priorities that we've outlined? An idea that I heard that just could we provide or spend more money on educational materials for the water rebate program? If that's something that we would support to the effect of the goals that our subcommittee set out for, I would be supportive of that. But right now, I'd still like to see some of that money go to one of our priorities that we set as a group.
James, I think that's really fair. To culture on the focus areas. I'm just kind of wondering, this is more of just a question out to the group. So I do agree we need to align with the focus areas at some level, but I'm just kind of curious with these limited funds. It sounded like our discussion was primarily around prioritizing education and awareness in general. And I agree, we should probably use some of that, if not a majority of that, towards our focus areas. But I'm just wondering if, because we're trying to make a decision on money that we're not going to be able to have a decision on, like, we're not going to have this in the future, should we really think a little bit differently about how maybe it doesn't have to completely align with the focus areas, is what I'm saying? Like, if we're deciding maybe for this fund or this 40,000, really prioritizing education and awareness of kind of like all the areas that we're supporting of the sustainability committee. So it's more of a question. I don't know what the right answer is.
I need to also make one more comment, and this is may help us. We did spend significant time as a port in the last few months working on the gray water. And every meeting minutes we share that we have gray water, and stuff like that. I did make a proposal for the gray water. We share with the city, and Liz can give updates. The city, you can jump in now, Liz. What you heard from the city about the proposal?
Ibrahim, sorry, I don't have the comments yet. I was gonna put that on the next agenda for July.
So the feedback was no, they didn't approve our idea for green water. Some of this next month, but my point behind that, it looks like, for the project we need to do, it might be like small projects, outreach, awareness, education. All the pilot plans I proposed, it may need more time, more efforts to get it out from here, And I do believe we need to invite some of the city officials to come to this board, or Liz can give us like connection to them to help us, to understand which areas we should focus to, which level, Is the level to make pilot plans? Is the level to make big projects? Is the level to approve small projects? Is the level of education? This is not clear to me, So, so that's why the focus area, James, is we need kind of refining, to the level of the focus area, how we can get engaged, When I started this contribution to this board, I came with full capacity. I was trying to get like a big projects. We had at that time like 70 or 60% for the reservoir. How can I save that, So expectation should be reasonable now, especially for the 40K. And as we heard, we don't have any other future opportunities to get more money. Yeah, so this is my 2 cents,
Does the water rebate program have its own funding for educational materials?
I'm not sure. I do know they do their own kind of like marketing for it and what all they do. They work with the communications department on that. So I'm not sure. Ethan, do you have any more info on that?
There is some money available for communications around it each year, so I don't think you guys would need to put money towards the rebate program and advertising it, because we usually find ways to do that within our budget.
Okay. Well, that's good news anyway.
What projects do we have around drought? We had seed rebates, which we're getting vibes that it will be included as part of water rebate. Did we have any other projects about any other funding needs in our 8 that were around drought, or were the rest about waste reduction or other things? I think the refrigerators in schools was like the primary waste reduction, I think. And does that remind me, was a grow or shrink one? Okay.
Yeah, and you guys can change the scope. That's just what Suffolk County had been working on because they had previously were going to get a grant. I think that was kind of taken away. So they had already started working with schools on that kind of thing. So that's kind of where we came up with that. But if you guys have a different avenue you'd like to approach when it comes to food and waste reduction, definitely up to you guys.
Okay, so Ibrahim, remind me where where your back and napkin allocation was. So we had 15K for air quality.
Oh yeah, I was trying to say like 10, 15, 15.
10, 15, 15.
10 for the educational stuff, 15 for the micro grants, and 15 for the air sensors.
What if we went 10, 10, 10, and 10, and we include the refrigerators in schools?
Yeah.
How costly are those?
Couple $100?
No, not regular refrigerators, like glass front refrigerators.
I found an estimation of $200 to $300, depending on how big we want them.
Really?
They're
Yeah, and not like
actually,
huge
they're
fridges.
less expensive than the air
Air
quality
sensors.
sensors. Wow.
I like that.
It's like a dorm fridge. Yeah.
But even those I was assuming would be like about 500.
Yeah.
So we can get around like 20.
So you're talking about like a dorm fridge or something, little tiny like that?
Classroom dorm fridge.
Okay, it'd have to be a small school, cause some kids, nobody drinks their milk.
From
Some
what we
schools.
Sedgwick County had already like looked into the schools and seeing like what all was given up and stuff, and they recommended just a smaller fridge, just a glass front fridge where, you know, kids can see what's inside.
That,
and
that's something that they actually recommended. Oh, okay,
Okay.
all right. If they've, you know, studied it and decided that that would be helpful.
Yeah.
They already have like a shared table. And so I think these mini fridges would be helpful.
Yeah, so this is basically like a refrigeration version of that, so they can give things away like their milk and stuff instead of just throwing it away. And if kids, you know, in the after school programs or in the mornings, you know, want to pull something out of there, they can.
So they already have a program to help share food, like if I don't need my banana or something.
Yeah, usually they have like an empty lunch table where any kid, you know, whatever, whether it be like their school lunch or their lunch that they brought from home, if it's like packaged and unused, they can leave it, you know, fruit that they didn't eat, whatever, and they just put it in the table and anyone can come in and grab it.
This could complement. Okay.
James, does this proposal satisfy your concerns?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think in my world, budgets do dictate the priorities a little bit.
Right.
And I would certainly feel better having some of this money go to one of the stated goals of the group. So I appreciate you narrating us through that.
And I still emphasize that the amount that we give to, the amount that we set aside for the micro grants, I think entirely depends upon our judgment of the paths available. If we look at the paths that would be realistically, that we would be obliged to put in place for this, and we think no one's gonna do this, then we rethink the other three.
So it would be fair, like we have like now 10 for micro grants, 10 for air quality sensors, 10 for the waste reduction, and 10 for the education material. So as a plan B, like if we see a process more complicated, not easy, should we take this 10,000 for the micro grants to go to the waste reduction within our scope?
I would say like 10, 15, 15.
Yeah.
15 for the refrigerators, 15 for the air quality. And that way make the education part of it.
Sure, yeah.
Standard.
I agree. James, Jessica, do you have any?
So, yeah, I just wanted to say one thing with like the air quality at the schools and having that continuation of this program is implemented this time, but having it go on, partnering up with nonprofits like, I don't know exactly how, you know, but maybe going to them and say wherever these schools are put in, do we have any ideas? Are we going to target just like, was it the certain zip codes, or are we working with the environmental schools, or?
Yeah, so if you guys decide to vote on this, Ethan and I will work on kind of graphing out what the scopes of each of these are going to be and come back to you guys with a more like steady proposal that includes a more specific proposal that will include like, you know, what zip codes and stuff we're going to target. We do want to, for specifically for the air quality sensors, I would love to keep the neighborhood resources and libraries, just because those are city property. So I would be able to, you know, administer those, and then school specifically just because of the playgrounds that they have available. So I would like to keep the focus within those three areas.
Do you need the board to make an official motion?
So
and vote?
yes, that's what I'm kind of writing.
So right now we
down.
have two plans, plan A and B. Should we vote on them
We
now?
have A plan and B plan.
Okay. So I will repeat again the two plans, and so we can vote on that. So plan,
Do you need a second for this? I guess you guys can make the motion first, but then before you vote on it, I'll have to get a public comment.
sure. So I mentioned we have two plans.
You're the public.
Yeah.
You have, are you Wichita documents?
Yeah.
I was thinking.
Yeah.
Not really public then, are you?
They're public.
That's public.
They're the most public.
Before
Okay,
they-
they're the most publicly public.
Before they make a motion or anything, did you have any public comment?
No.
Oh, you can continue, Ibrahim.
So I was trying to share with the board members, according to our June meeting, we did propose two different plans. Plan A was a $40,000 split it amongst 4 projects, $10,000 for micro grants, $10,000 for the air quality sensors, another $10,000 for the waste reduction, especially for the food, and another $10,000 for education material. This is plan A. This plan is depending on a feedback from Les to come back to us next month to say go or no go based on the process about the microgrants. If the answer yes, manageable, we can do it. We approve this one and move forward. If the answer came next month from the staff that it is complicated process, add too much work, or will add pressure on the recipients. So in this case, we are moving to plan B. Plan B is mainly 3 projects, 15,000 for the air quality sensors, another 15,000 for the waste reduction for the food, 10,000 for the education material. If we approve one of the next plans next month, the next step is to dig more for details, how we can frame the work, how we can split the work and stuff like that. So for this in favor of approving the 2 plans with the next steps, say aye.
We need a motion.
Motion, I'm sorry.
I'll make the motion to, as proposed.
Okay.
James, I heard
James
you
made the motion.
first. Is there a second?
Dylan will second.
Thank you.
We're so excited.
All right, okay, now.
Okay. So for this in favor of approving the 2 plans, say aye.
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 Anyone against the plans? Once, twice, 3 times. I'm going to approve the 2 plans and thank you for this discussion about this item.
Okay, so I'll add it to the next month's agenda, but Ethan and I will come back to you guys, and we'll try and have a more specific scope with more details and specifics in there, so you guys can kind of take a look at that, see if you want to change anything in there or how that sounds.
Yeah.
And for the waste reduction one, I will focus on that schools plan with the fridges, since that's what you guys talked about. There is another discussion item, we don't have time for it, so I'm just gonna kind of go through it real quick. So I do believe in ordinance, it says we're supposed to vote on sub chair and vice chair, so just kind of be thinking about that. It will just be moved to next month. So I'm not sure if Ibrahim and Russell, if you guys are still interested in being chair and vice chair, if anyone else is interested, but we will be discussing that next meeting. So
Okay.
just kind of keep that in mind.
Sounds good. So thank you, everyone. So I'm going to adjourn this meeting.
Public comment.
Oh, public comment?
Oh.
Public comment.
Public
Go ahead,
comment.
public.
Okay, now you can adjourn the meeting.
So yeah, I'm going to adjourn this and thank you so much for your time and see you next month.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Did the library change its times? Because